The news breaking right now is that the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, widely known as the ICPC, has bluntly refused to grant bail to the former governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasir El-Rufai. His closest aides and legal team are now raising a massive alarm over his continued detention and the conditions he is facing. This situation has completely gripped the nation, turning into one of the most dramatic political and legal battles we have seen in the year 2026. To truly understand the weight of this headline, we have to look at the spectacular chain of events that brought a once powerful governor into the tight grip of multiple anti-graft and security agencies. It all started just a few days ago, when El-Rufai returned to Nigeria from a trip to Cairo, Egypt. As soon as his plane landed at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja, he was met with a scene straight out of a movie. Reports indicate that about 50 operatives from the Department of State Services were stationed at the airport with specific instructions to take him into custody. They approached him right there, but the former governor stood his ground. He demanded to see a formal letter of invitation or an arrest warrant. When the operatives could not produce one, he flatly refused to go with them, insisting that as a citizen of a free country, he could not be taken away without due process. A heated confrontation followed, during which his international passport was briefly confiscated and one of his aides was reportedly roughed up by the security personnel. El-Rufai eventually managed to leave the airport, but that was only the beginning of his heavy troubles. Shortly after this airport encounter, El-Rufai appeared as a guest on Arise Television's primetime program. During this live broadcast, he made a stunning claim that would quickly become the center of a massive legal storm. He confidently stated that the attempt to arrest him at the airport was orchestrated by the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, through the ICPC. But it was how he knew this that shocked everyone. El-Rufai admitted on national television that he and his associates had intercepted the phone communications of the National Security Advisor. He literally said that they listened to the private calls and had the exact moment the order was given to detain him. In his words, the government thinks they are the only ones who can listen to calls, but he and his team also have their ways. This public admission of wiretapping a high-ranking national security official is what poured gasoline on the fire. It is at this highly engaging part of the story that I want to quickly remind you to please hit the like button and subscribe to this channel, as your support helps us continue to bring you these detailed, strictly factual, and up-to-date stories as they unfold. By subscribing, you make sure you are always the first to know what is happening in the country. Now, back to the unfolding drama. Following that explosive television interview, El-Rufai had a scheduled appointment with the Economic Corruption and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC, on Monday, February 16, 2026. This was regarding an entirely different matter. It was about a massive probe into his 8-year tenure as the governor of Kaduna State, specifically concerning allegations of diverting 423 billion naira in public funds, a claim brought forward by the Kaduna State House of Assembly. El-Rufai honored the EFCC invitation and walked into their Abuja headquarters. He spent 2 consecutive nights there, undergoing intense questioning about financial transactions and state projects. By Wednesday evening, the EFCC finally granted him administrative bail. He completed his bail papers, and it seemed like he was finally going to go home and breathe the air of freedom. But the moment he stepped out of the EFCC gates, he walked right into an ambush. Armed operatives who had been waiting patiently outside immediately swooped in and rearrested him. At first, there was immense confusion about who took him. Was it the DSS again? Was it the police? Shortly after, the ICPC released a formal statement confirming that the former governor was now securely in their custody in connection with ongoing investigations. This brings us directly to the current alarm being raised by his aides. El-Rufai has now been in ICPC custody for several days, and the commission has firmly refused to grant him bail. His media advisor, Muyiwa Adekenye, alongside his legal team led by Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Oluwole Iyamu, have cried out over what they describe as unlawful detention and a gross violation of his fundamental human rights. The situation escalated even further when ICPC officials, accompanied by heavily armed police officers, stormed El-Rufai's private residence in the upscale Aso Drive area of Abuja. They arrived in the afternoon and conducted a sweeping search of the entire property. The former governor's legal team immediately condemned this raid, stating that the search warrant used by the operatives was completely defective. They argued that the warrant, allegedly obtained from a chief magistrate in the Federal Capital Territory, lacked specific details about what exactly they were looking for, making it an overly broad and illegal invasion of privacy. During this raid, the operatives reportedly seized several personal documents and electronic devices, leaving the household in deep distress. In rapid response to this home invasion and his continued detention without bail, El-Rufai's lawyers have hit back very hard. They have officially filed a 1 billion naira lawsuit against the ICPC, the Inspector General of Police, the Attorney General of the Federation, and the magistrate who issued the warrant. In this massive lawsuit, they are demanding that the court declare the search of his home unconstitutional. They are asking for the immediate return of all seized items and demanding 1 billion naira in general and exemplary damages for the psychological, trauma, and humiliation he and his household have suffered. They are arguing that you cannot simply raid a man's house with a vague document and hold him indefinitely without granting him his right to bail, especially when he had willingly submitted himself for questioning at another agency just days prior. But the ICPC detention and the home raid are not the only mountains El-Rufai has to climb. Because of his statements on television, the Department of State Services has now officially dragged him to the Federal High Court in Abuja. They have filed a severe 3-count charge against him, bordering on cybercrime and national security breaches. The charges explicitly state that on February 13, 2026, El-Rufai unlawfully intercepted the phone communications of the National Security Advisor. They are also charging him for knowing the individuals who carried out this unlawful wiretapping and failing to report them to the authorities, thereby compromising public safety and national security. The government is arguing that using technical equipment to tap into the phone lines of the nation's top security advisor is a very dangerous crime, punishable under the newly amended Cybercrimes Act of 2024 and the Nigerian Communications Act. A date has already been fixed for his formal arraignment in court, meaning he will have to stand in the dock to answer to these heavy federal charges. To put the financial allegations into perspective, the Kaduna State House of Assembly did not just wake up and make allegations. They conducted an extensive probe into the 8 years of El-Rufai's administration, spanning from 2015 to 2023. They compiled a massive report alleging that a staggering 423 billion naira of public funds had been diverted or misappropriated. They directly called on the anti-corruption agencies to step in, which is what initially triggered the EFCC's involvement. For a state that struggles with infrastructure and basic amenities, hearing that such a massive amount of money is unaccounted for has left many citizens demanding absolute transparency and accountability. Yet, the former governor has consistently maintained his innocence. He has publicly stated that his administration was heavily documented, making meticulous records of every single financial and security decision made. He has challenged anyone to bring forward proof that he ever took a bribe, emphasizing his 16 years of public service. This fierce defense only makes the current standoff more intense. The sight of a man who once commanded total authority in his state now being shuffled between detention cells of the EFCC and the ICPC while his lawyers scramble to secure his release is a stark reminder of how quickly power dynamics can shift. His loyalists are holding on to hope that the courts will protect his fundamental rights, pointing to the constitutional guarantee of presumption of innocence until proven guilty. Meanwhile, the legal community is keenly observing how the judiciary will handle the 1 billion naira lawsuit regarding the search warrant. The Nigerian constitution fiercely protects the privacy of citizens, their homes, and their correspondence. If the court rules that the chief magistrate made a mistake in issuing a vague warrant, it could set a massive precedent for how anti-graft agencies conduct their searches in the future. It is a true clash of titans, blending heavy legal rules with raw political survival. All of this is happening against the backdrop of a very tense political climate. El-Rufai, who was once a towering figure in the ruling party and was even nominated to be a minister by the president before his confirmation was blocked by security reports, has since moved to the opposition African Democratic Congress. He has been highly critical of the current administration and has vowed to work with other politicians to ensure a change of government in the 2027 elections. Many of his supporters are now arguing that this sudden avalanche of arrests arrests, denied bails, home raids, and cybercrime charges is nothing but a coordinated political setup designed to silence a powerful opposition voice before the next election cycle. On the other hand, anti-corruption activists and government supporters insist that the law must take its course, pointing out that no one, even a former governor, is above the law, especially when it involves staggering sums of state funds and admitted breaches of national security. This whole saga presents a very complex picture of power, law, and politics in Nigeria. It makes you wonder about the limits of political immunity and the aggressive tactics used by law enforcement agencies. This brings me to a question I really want you all to engage with in the comment section. What do you think of the strategy of one security agency waiting at the gates of another security agency to rearrest a suspect who has just been granted bail? Have you ever seen this kind of dramatic legal maneuvering unfold? And do you view this as a necessary step to ensure justice is served, or do you see it as a clear sign of political intimidation?